Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Lee Fitzgerald. Welcome to the new Dr. Lee Fitzgerald television show. And right now I want to introduce my host, Mary Joy. How are you doing, Mary? I'm going to say Joy because you're always happy.
I'm very glad to be here again, and I'm excited about our guest today. So let's get right on to introducing our beautiful guest.
All right, and you know, this introducing our beautiful guest brings up just amazing feelings inside my heart, because I am also now a cancer survivor. And even to say cancer survivor scares me still. I had prostate cancer, and so I got to know a lady that just enlightened me, and especially made me laugh. This lady, her name is Rachel. I want to introduce her now. How are you doing, Rachel?
Fabulous.
Always fabulous.
Always fabulous.
And always laughing.
It's true.
Okay, now we want to start at the beginning, when you found out that you had a 10% chance to live with the type of cancer that you had. Can you explain that a little bit, or how it felt emotionally when you I know how I felt. I was scared, really scared, when they told me that I had cancer. What happened to you?
You know, it's kind of a crazy story. I got into the car accident that saved my life.
Car accident that saved your life.
Yeah.
That is a crazy story.
If I didn't get in that accident, I wouldn't be here.
Okay.
So when they diagnosed me with cancer, I remember the doctors coming in saying, you have leukemia, and I didn't know what that was.
You didn't, thank God.
I didn't realize it was cancer, you know. And I think I cried about it for like a couple minutes, called my mom, told her what was going on, but I never knew how sick I was until after I had gone through all the treatments, so ignorance was bliss.
Oh, right, right.
As far as that was concerned.
So there was no pain with that type of cancer when you, at the beginning,
No.
correct?
Nothing.
You know, and I'm going to take the light off you for a minute and go right to our co-host, Mary Joy, because you have been in the medical for 50 years. Leukemia. Talk a little bit about what that is, and to the audience, and so they know that there's all types of different
Rachel
kinds
had
of cancer.
acute
promyelocytic
leukemia, and like she says, she was given a 10% chance of surviving the initial, after the accident and after the hospitalization. And though I find it amazing, they immediately, or within I don't know what the period of time, but had made arrangements for her to be transferred to the City of Hope, which is probably one of the finest facilities, especially for the blood cancers.
Right.
You couldn't have gone to a better place if you could have gone any place in the world, probably.
Definitely.
And so I think, though, I start laughing when I think about the story that Rachel tells about her transfer to City of Hope. Tell us what happened on that ride from Ventura to Duarte.
So I was really sick, obviously, and they were giving me blood transfusions constantly. And these ambulance guys came into my room, and they had to be certified, I guess, in a crash cart, because the doctors really thought I was going to die on the way to the other.
ACLS ambulance. That's
there you go.
Acute life support, right?
I don't know all this stuff. But,
the alphabet soup.
So I get in the ambulance with these two guys, and I have this bald guy in the back with me. And I love bald men now.
All because of that. Right?
Fell in love with bald men after that. And the guy up front, he looks like Tom Cruise. And so, you know, we're driving down to the City of Hope from Ventura County Medical Center, and the guy up front, Tom Cruise, says, "Rachel, do you mind if we play some music?" You know, when they first picked me up, they were really, really serious. But when I got in there, I was just having a field day. And he turned...
She's dying of cancer, and she's having a field day.
I know, it was totally funny. And so they were blasting this K-rock, and the guy up front, Tom Cruise, is singing.
Yeah.
And I'm laying in the gurney.
Voice?
I don't really remember, but the guy in the back, you know, bald man's talking to me, and I'm dancing in the gurney, laying in the gurney, you know, like dancing the whole entire drive to the City of Hope. And meanwhile, you know, my mom is just really stressed out and praying to God that I'm going to survive this transport, because of how
the transport, let alone the treatments.
Let alone the treatments, yeah. And so she was praying, you know, please save my daughter, please help her. And when my mom got to the City of Hope and she was waiting there for the ambulance to arrive, and she saw the ambulance get there, and they opened the doors, and we all came out laughing. All of us were laughing in there. And she was like, oh, like, thank God she had this great attitude, even though she was being transported, not even realizing how sick I was.
Yeah, and to an amazement, they were coming out, and you were laughing, and the guys were laughing. You were having a party.
Yeah, it was really
going
funny.
to the City of Hope, having a party.
I know.
That's incredible.
Well, but part of this is attitude, and this is our show about mind and body.
Mm-hmm.
And just the first thing that came across to me was your attitude saved your life. It made all the difference in the world in the outcome of your disease. And that's how our emotions are, how our thinking, our attitude influences our body.
No kidding.
There's no doubt about it.
And I'm a psychologist, and I have to say that that's really true. I mean, we might have something really, really going on with us medically, but if we can change our attitude to a positive attitude, and what a better way than laughter. And I've already copied what you do. And you got to help me with this. You say children laugh
365 times a day, and the average adult laughs 15. So when I heard that, I was like, I have to laugh as much as possible. And even in the worst circumstances and the scariest parts of my treatment, I was always laughing.
That's amazing.
People thought I was crazy.
Oh yeah, like you lost your mind.
But
which made it even funnier.
It is about attitude.
Right.
Attitude is everything in any situation, not only just cancer, but any other type of disease or other thing that you encounter in your life. You just have to find a way to laugh about it.
Right.
And I find an amazing part of your story also is you were in remission. You were in remission 5 months, and you thought that you had it made, kind of, or how many months?
It was
and then
7.
Okay, 7 months, and you thought you had it licked, and then what happened?
Came back.
Yeah.
It came back, but before we get into that, I want to go back for a second, if we can. The hospital.
Okay.
The City of Hope, and you had radiation. I had radiation.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh,
not yet.
Okay.
That came with the
that was after the relapse. But
okay.
in the beginning, what happened was when they transferred me to the City of Hope, they gave me really heavy rounds of chemo. I had 85% cancer cells in my body.
Wow.
And my body and my lungs went in shock. There was fluid in my lungs, blood went up into my brain, and they had to put me into a drug-induced coma for 10 days. I woke up the day before Christmas, like out of this coma, violent, because I was coming off of morphine, and I had to relearn how to walk and sit up and eat and swallow and all that stuff. It took me like a really long time to recuperate from just that alone.
Because you couldn't walk, you couldn't eat, and you're a mess, but you're still
I was still laughing.
Still laughing. Okay, so let's get to the part where you had the actual relapse.
So
unexpectedly, correct?
Yeah, I had really bad headaches, and I was calling my doctor, and eventually he got me into the City of Hope and did a spinal tap.
And that's painful.
Painful, yeah, not a pleasant experience.
No.
And found the cancer and started administering chemotherapy, and then I had a brain surgery to get a port put in my head that I still have up here. It's called an Ommaya reservoir. And that was an easier way to treat the cancer, because instead of doing a spinal tap every single day like they were doing for like the first week, they were
every single day.
Every single day, yeah.
And let's talk about how you chose to have that. What is it, like a plate in the top of your head?
It's a little pump right here.
Okay, it's a pump.
Yeah, it goes
Or
right.
a bump. It's like a shunt.
Okay.
It's like a shunt. So what happened was the doctors said, they can only do so many spinal taps before they might pinch a nerve or hurt something.
Or you become paralyzed.
And they said the other option is to see this neurosurgeon and get an Ommaya reservoir put in. And I was really kind of like hesitant and freaked out about that because I didn't know what that entailed. But when I went and I saw the neurosurgeon and I met with him, and he told me how dangerous the procedure was.
What did he say?
He said the way that they put it in is they have to cut open your skull.
Ouch.
And drill a hole into your head.
Ugh.
And then they have to blindly put this
blindly?
Yeah, because they can't see where they're going, obviously.
Wonderful.
And they have to put this Ommaya reservoir in here, and then there's a catheter that goes and runs down in between my brains
into
my spinal fluid and into my spinal column. And so, you know, the only thing that they had that was showing them where to go were my brain scans, my MRI scans.
Okay.
And they said that there was a very, very small space between my brain and my skull for them to get it in there. So, I mean, he obviously told me about all the different things that could have happened. I mean, I could have lost like part of my memory or any other part of my brain or whatever, all kinds of stuff. And, you know, the thing that I asked him was, I said, you know, what would you do? Because he
you
had
asked the
kids.
doctor that. What would you do?
I said,
If
you have
your
kids.
kid.
If your daughter had to get this surgery done, and his daughter was only like 5 or 6, I said, what would you do? And he goes, I would have her do it.
Oh, and
So that's how you
Like
decided.
no questions asked. And so I said, okay, let's do it then. I'm fine with that. And so I did it. But you know what? It's the best thing I could have done, because like now I still have it, even though the doctors want to take it out. But you can leave it in your head for like 30 years.
Okay.
No problem. So why not?
So, so there's no pain in
No.
with that or anything, and
It's really fun.
So okay, so now you're well again, and maybe you could explain when you say remission. I don't quite, as a psychologist, a layman, a human being, I don't understand what that means. Remission. My guess is it means the cancer is gone.
Well, when they're
What does that
doing,
mean?
different cancers have different tests for that. For instance, you just had your first PSA.
And explain to the audience what a PSA is.
PSA is for specifically for prostates. The P stands for prostate, the S for specific, and the A for antigen. In Rachel's case, they did blood work, and they looked at, and maybe they did a bone marrow or something. There are different ways in each country. Sometimes they do scans, but it's a combination of things. And so her blood was looking good because
so there's no
her
cancer
leukemia
cells. They can actually
is a
see
cancer of the blood.
Okay.
And so when they look at them, the number is reduced or hopefully not there. That's
So in
what
my
remission
case,
is.
because I have to go back in a month or 2 months, they can actually do tests to see if the cancer is all gone for me.
Yeah,
too.
they judge by in that case, and then they even have an ultra-sensitive PSA for you.
So Rachel, they went back and they said you're in remission, and how did that make you feel? What was the psychological?
You've been there once.
I mean, I had already been there once before, so obviously I was excited when I attained remission, but then the doctor told me that in order to keep the cancer from coming back again, because of my aggressive form of leukemia,
Which
and
is
because
very
it came
aggressive.
back so fast,
Right.
you know, they said that I had to get a stem cell transplant. And so I would have to go through this entire experience of, you know, collecting my own stem cells and doing all the testing.
How do you collect
prior
your
to
own
that.
stem
It's
cells?
the coolest thing ever. It's the coolest thing ever, and I love talking about it. They gave me a Hickman catheter, which is a catheter in my chest.
Okay.
And they gave me a drug called Neupogen, which is made by Amgen. And what they do is I would give myself shots every single day, 3 times a day.
Wow.
Of this Neupogen. Mom, of course, my mother wouldn't
couldn't
give
give
it
the
to me because I hated needles, and she was like, "No way, you're gonna do it yourself." And what the Neupogen does is it makes your body produce a really large amount of white cells.
Okay.
And when it gets up extremely high, it starts producing baby stem cells. And when you have all these baby stem cells in your body, they hook you up to a machine that's a lot like a dialysis machine, and the process is called apheresis. And through this, you know, this IV I had in my chest, they were pulling the blood out, filtering it through this system, and putting the stem cells up in this bag and filtering the blood back in.
Okay,
and so that was like a 4-hour process for up to 10 days.
Wow.
It only took me 4 to get 5 million stem cells, and then they freeze them. And that's how they got my stem cells. But you can only use your own stem cells once.
One time. I did not know that.
And then if the cancer returns and they have to do another transplant, you have to get a donor.
Okay.
And obviously there's more problems with that. But when they froze my stem cells, then they gave me 2 extremely heavy rounds of chemotherapy, which are meant to knock out your immune system. And then they gave me 11 sessions of total body radiation.
Whoa.
And the only thing that was protecting any part of my body were these 2 little metal blocks that were covering part of my lungs.
And that's a horrible thing, the chemotherapy, right? And then because I had the radiation, and that I still am having side effects from that. And you had full body chemo and radiation.
Yeah, but you know what it is? What it is. I mean, you have to look at it on the other side. Like, I'm still alive, so I can't really say anything. And even though the chemo and the radiation have caused more problems for me now. Like
what kind of problems, if you don't mind telling everybody?
I have deterioration and degenerative disc disease in my back. And I have dental damage.
Dental damage.
And all kinds of stuff. I mean, early menopause, infertility. There's a lot more brain damage. I have a lot of brain damage.
You seem very smart to me.
Yeah, but I've been talking about cancer for like 3 years. 4 years. So I'm used to talking about it.
And that's why, let's move on and tell the audience what you started doing about your speaking, about your jewelry, about your fundraising. All, you know, you're moving on. You're in remission, and what are you going to do with your life?
And let me set the scene for a minute, because this is a special individual right here. We really want to listen to her laugh. I want to set the scene for a minute. She went through all this horrible stuff, all this pain, and she went through it with absolute laughter and just really a great philosophy about dealing with it and all that. Then you decided, I need to give back. I need to give back. Say again?
Pay it forward.
She calls it
pay it forward. So now look into the camera and just explain how all these ideas came to you and how you went into complete service for your fellow cancer human beings. It's a great story.
Okay, so the reality was, when I was diagnosed, we weren't given a lot of resources or information as far as how we would get help. You know, how I was going to get to and from the hospital and my house, because that's like a 2-hour drive. Or how I was going to get back into the gym to be able to lose the weight that I gained from the chemo and the steroids they had me on. I mean, there was a multitude of different resources that we needed that we weren't really given when I was diagnosed with cancer, which it should never be like that. You should never be kind of like lost and confused and unsure of what you're supposed to do. And so, you know, I started out just speaking anywhere that I could talk about my cancer experience, high schools and colleges and organizations and all kinds of stuff. And I got to a point where talking about it wasn't enough, and I had to do more than that. And so I started this organization. It's called UCAAN, which is United Cancer Advocacy Action Network, and we are a 501c3. And we provide resources and gifts of hope, which are just like this fabulous bracelet that Mary is wearing. And I incorporated all my love of like music and art into this organization. So I make jewelry, I make handmade plaques in memory of and in support of patients. We do a multitude of things that are amazing. But the real thing that we want to do in the future is we want to be able to provide financial assistance to patients, because there's not a lot of financial assistance out there.
Didn't you tell me the awful story, and correct me if I'm wrong, some of the people go through all this pain, they have no money, they're out of health insurance, and after that they have to live in their cars.
Some people are living in their cars.
Living in their cars in the good old United States of America.
It's really sad. It's really sad, and it's really scary, and it's even like this dental problem that I have. I mean, I have teeth that I've had to take out because of the treatments that I've had.
Radiation.
But there's no coverage or there's no assistance, financial aid for patients to get their teeth fixed or